Welcome back to another edition of Solid. Today we are working on Chevy S10 or GMC Sonoma, Blazer, Jimmy, 98 to 03 I believe, covers those years. We're doing the power steering pump. As you can see, I've already removed the air box here. Simply disconnected the 8mm there. And we're going to remove these three 10mm to take out the shroud. And we have these four 13mm air conditioning compressor bolts. We're gonna lay it out over there, and then we'll get to it. You got a 10mm here that holds on to this filler neck, and then there's a bunch of 13s and 14s down there. I'll give you the numbers for all the parts we're using and the tools. Let's get started. Also a good idea to have a piece of cardboard and catch pan underneath just in case. You don't have to, but I have a quick disconnect here on the battery. Just remove the steering shaft cover. Also another quick tip here, you want to remove the pigtails for the mass airflow sensor and the other sensor right there. You get to the belt here and you want to go counterclockwise away towards the passenger side to loosen that up and take off the belt on the belt tensioner, 3/8 ratchet. Remove the pigtail from the compressor. All four of these bolts, by the way, on the compressor are the same length, so you don't have to worry about any specific order. And we're just going to swing it over there. Also, there is a pigtail back here, and you just rest it just like that. There's your 10mm bolt right there. Now you're going to negotiate this over here. Sorry about that, I forgot to press pause. And just place this to the side. I took out the three 10mm here. There's the shroud off to the side. Now we have somewhat direct access to the power steering pulley, which we're going to remove that now. And this I rented from AutoZone. This is what you're going to need here, these four pieces. Pay close attention, one side is round, one side is oblong. You're going to need both sides that are round so it can grab on the collar. Okay, so what I have is a 13 16th or 21 wrench holding the nut, and then a 16mm here on a 3/8 ratchet. And you're just going to go in a clockwise formation like you're tightening it, and that is going to draw the pulley out. So the better setup was actually to use the box end of the 21, and then you could actually go forward and back with the ratchet and the wrench, kind of doubling up the speed of the threading in to remove the pulley. Now we have to remove 14, 14, 13, 13. I think that's a 14. Oops, sorry, my arm's in the way. 14 down here, 13, 13, 14, 14, and there's a 14 sticking in there. So once you get out all the 13s and 14s, I actually found a 15 right down here. See if I can zoom in. See it right there. That's a 15. Now don't get pulling up right away, because there is that stud that's right here, so you want to just gently work that off. I'm gonna need two hands. So you have two options. You can slide the bracket out and get a vice grip on this and unthread this, or you can get an 8mm on that. Mine's actually, that's an inverted torx, probably an E8 or E10. But if you find the spacing, let me lower this here, all these blades are pretty tightly close together until you get to this one right here where it's largely spaced, and you can sneak it off. So I just wanted to show you, this is actually an E8, and that's what an inverted torx looks like. It's the exact opposite of a torx, but it is an E8. Now we're going to go to removing the power steering pump from the brackets. If you're not sure where the bolts are, it's an easier fix than what you believe. Just look at the back of your new power steering pump, and those are the two spots that you need to disconnect. Looks like 15, maybe 16mm. 2 15mm nuts. Next, you want to use an 18mm crow's foot. If you're replacing the hoses, I am, because this is the time to do it. Both of these are 18mm crow's feet on a, actually this is a line wrench. Crow's foot would be just this part, which you can see in chrome right here, and then it would have like a 3/8 square drive in it, so you can use an extension from way up here. You absolutely want to make sure this is that time where you must have a catch pan or drain pan of some sort. You most likely will be leaking fluid once you crack these open. So I realize explaining it is not as good as seeing it. So that's your crow's foot there, as I mentioned, with the square drive. This is a stubby 18mm that's an open and rounded. Then you have this Mac 18mm, which is kind of like a crow's foot. It's fitted exactly for the nut, and of course the line wrench, which has both the 16 and the 18, just as a point of reference for those that didn't know it. Now here we have the line. I suggest taking out this one that's closest to the driver's side first, because then that gives you more workable room when you go to get that one off. I decided to say, you know what, hey, let's go ahead and use the crow's foot so they could see it in action. I got a little bit too long of an extension here, but I wanted to add a way so that way I can show you how it works. And pretty much lefty loosey, righty tighty, same thing. But I'm going to need two hands, because the longer you have an extension, the more torque you lose in turning. Plus you also want to brace it with one hand and then support the ratchet as you're turning it at the same time, so that way you don't round out the six-sided portion of the corners of the hex. And again, those who don't know, this is how it works. It's a real space saver. We use them in a lot of different applications. Then you go ahead and remove the extension, and then you can, as you can see, just turn it easily like this without using an actual wrench down there. It's a real time saver and a space saver. And this is where you'll see possibly some fluid coming out. Now the first line, as you can see, I placed it up here inside the bracket facing up, so that way the fluid wouldn't come pouring down. And now we're gonna have to negotiate that. Okay, so as you can see, it's on a tilt right now. Okay, and we're gonna have to let go of the hoses, unfortunately, because it's routed underneath this exhaust emissions pipe. So with two hands, very carefully, what I like to do is put the finger over the end as best you can. Don't forget about the rubber insert there. You're going to be transferring this part right here, this round rubber cylindrical part where the filler neck goes into. And again, this is the way I like to do it. It saves you a whole boatload of trouble. If you're going to be reusing your hoses, just transfer them out this way. I always suggest, it's so much easier work than fighting your way behind the mess that already probably took you at least an hour just to get to this point. Okay, so this is the point where I'm at so far. You can see I got the hose behind the pipe. This one's already over here. This sticks out of the back of it, so you're gonna have to do a bunch of tilting back and forth. Not too hard, not too easy, kind of like right in the middle. But yeah, we're almost got it out. Just make sure you try not to spill too much, then it'll be less cleanup later. Okay, so I just decided to use my garbage pail just to show you. That bucket's being used for something else now. This is that grommet that I took out of here. You want to reuse that, inspect it to make sure that it's in good working order. There's no cuts, no tears, no cracks, that it's nice and pliable, not dried out, which it shouldn't be. And again, this is just a much easier method, a lot less pain. You'd be fighting these hoses right here probably another 20-30 minutes at least. Just better to undo the two lines. And the hoses are cheap enough. I think AutoZone, I think they were like less than $30 a piece, and it's good peace of mind. They come with O-rings and everything. For the 1998 to 2003 Chevy 4.3 rather, this is the part number that is a Reman power steering unit, lifetime warranty, limited lifetime warranty. I think it was around $100. If you want to replace the pulley, there's your pulley number, 300-200, and it's nice and metal, not that plastic garbage. These are the hoses you want to get. They're a few dollars more than the basic ones. Let's see here, where is that part number? Yeah, no part number, there we go. You want that one there, and then that one there. This one has the hose end, you just got to get a clamp, and these are the Upgraded. The brass is the one you want to look for. That's they told me it was better. It was only like $4 or $5 more, and it's just machined better. Okay, so yeah, in reverse order now, we're going to take this line. It's going to get threaded into there. This one that has a fitting that goes into the power steering box, and the other side has a regular hose with a clamp, and that's going to get clamped onto there. And don't forget to put your grommet in there. I'm going to have this reassembled. Be right back. And there's your setup right there. I just mimicked, I looked at the old pump and I mimicked the position of the pressure line. This is your return line, which you had to cut because they give you more than enough hose. You don't have to cut it, but I chose to match it to what it was. So this was a 16 millimeter down here. Tighten that nut. These are your two 15 millimeters. I'm actually going to break this loose and lower this just a little bit so I can get that nut on. And then these are should be 18s again. Let's get it back in. Okay, so I just want to give you a little quick video during install. When feeding the hoses in, you're going to put the unit straight down here. Then the return line is going to go this way, and your pressure line is going to have to get snuck underneath this here emissions pipe. Don't forget to do that, otherwise it'll be fighting. All right, so just to catch up here, the aftermarket hoses, these are actually 19s from 18s. I wound up cleaning up the bracket, and I just went header's black. It's up to 2000 degrees, so that paint will be solid. Again, you got your E8. Now I use anti-seize when I put the threads back on. It's kind of a silvery looking jelly here. You don't have to buy a big tube like this. This professionals use it because we use so much of it. But you can buy the little 99-cent or $1, $2, whatever packets they are. Don't forget you got the 14 down here, the 3 13s that go around the pulley into the power steering pump. Then you have your two 14s here, 14 nut. Again, that's an E8. Don't forget your 10 millimeter to hold down the filler neck. And I think that pretty much catches up. As you can see, it's a little white on the box because I sprayed away all the overflowing power steering fluid. Now we are going to get ready to install the power steering pump pulley. This is the tool you're going to need. Is a 14 millimeter socket, and this is part of the kit. And what I do is I leave the pulley out in the sun probably for like, ever since I started this, at least an hour to 2 hours, whatever the time is. That way the heat expands and then it goes on a lot easier, and as it cools it'll form around the power steering pump shaft. Also, side note here, this is the Serpentine Belt number that you would need if you would need to replace it. If you're getting it from AutoZone, check it for cracks, tears, missing ribs. Again, this is the time to do it. It's already apart. And with that, we're going to get the pulley back on. I'll show you in a moment how that is set up. Okay, on this particular setup, the nut over here is an 18 millimeter and the head is a 14 millimeter. So what I did was I propped the ratchet against there. Let's see if I can zoom out. Get a better picture of it here. It's a little tricky here. And what you're doing is the ratchet itself is holding the position of the head of the bolt, and then the pulley is getting driven in by ratcheting it.